All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the MSP Initiative Live, coming to you really live from Las Vegas, Nevada. So, they say, I was walking down the hallway this morning and I ran into a guy that said he's been here for 8 days. I said, you still have money in your bank account? And are you still alive? Like 3 days is usually like the absolute maximum limit, but dude's still shaking it. So I said, all right, man.
8 days in
8
Vegas.
days in Vegas. Yes.
Should write a
Craziness,
book.
right? I mean, yeah, he should write a book because I don't know how he made it, but he's still going. And he said he's going to be here till, tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm just getting everything up and running, giving a little bit of time for people to sign in. 21. Perfect. Just making sure we give everybody some love, right? Because we're at Kaseya Connect IT Global. So for anyone that obviously everybody runs a conference once you're a certain size, and that's this for Kaseya, since the first time since the pandemic, right, where they've actually come back in person. I think maybe last year it was hybrid, but you give everybody a mulligan for last year because it was last year. So anyway, Ken, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, George. I'm not in Vegas, but I'm doing fantastic.
Fantastic is great. I mean, you could have
reporting live from my basement, but that's all right.
Hey, everybody's got to be somewhere, and the bus has to stop at some point, right?
Did you really just say that? Wow.
I didn't say stop forever. I just said stop, right? I mean.
Yeah, I got some memories. I got some memories to share today of us going from Pittsburgh to Ohio. So some nice footage I got to remember to put out there just to keep the memory alive, keep the dream alive.
100%. I want to give a little shout out because they let me borrow some power and their booth. I want to give some shout out to Lenovo. They make some pretty cool gear. This actually is pretty X1 titanium. Carbon, it's pretty neat. So if you haven't looked at any of the Lenovo stuff recently, better dial it up. And we all know it's a little bit hard to get hardware these days. So if they got it, you should buy it. Just saying.
Just got my son a Lenovo for college.
Oh yeah, well they would love to hear that. That's awesome. Yeah. More sales means they're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
So special thank you to letting me borrow a little bit of power and a little bit of space here. On the show floor, you can see behind me, I'm in the vendor area, and it is not a time where people are usually here. It's like, sessions are happening. So don't totally look at this and say, where's everybody at? Well, they're in sessions learning things. So, things about security and other things. So there you go. So here we are. This is day actually 2 of the conference, 3. I think maybe they had one of those, small days that they started, and then the conference started kicking off. But anyway, so wow.
We don't want to have you die live in Vegas, because you sound like the guy that's been there for 8 days. That's what you sound like.
Yeah. No, the guy who was there for 8 days. Awesome. I'm getting a little bit of water help. Thank you. Appreciate that.
George, I figured you'd be reporting live from. It appears that Connect Booster is making some big announcements today, right now on the stage.
Well, I couldn't be in the main stage. I know they're launching a security product.
If my time is right.
I know they're launching a security product, they said. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's what they said. So I don't know. We'll get the news when the news comes. But yeah, I'm not in the main area. I'm in the vendor area. It's a little bit easier to be loud and not disruptive, when somebody's on stage, I'm sure. So anyway, yes, we're here. We're live. Approximately, I've had mixed numbers, so I don't know what the actual number is of people that are actually in the building. I think somebody said there was 1,800 registered, but as you know, not everybody actually makes it, right? So I haven't had a chance to count or jump into a main stage area, but as expected, the MSP community has come out in large force. And yeah, like a lot of the familiar faces that you expect to be here are here. And a lot of people who I've never run into before are here too. So, it's hopefully as things continue to go further and further from 2021 and into the next year, right? We're going to see people continue to come out. And I know we have a couple of other events between now and the end of the year, primarily Orlando, right? With IT Nation coming around the corner. So hoping that people actually get out of their houses and join, right? Because, if you don't talk, I mean, you and I we've said it 1,000 times. It's kind of one of the reasons that we started MSP Initiative, right? The best part of these conferences, I mean, listen, a lot of content, a lot of education, but the hallway conversations, the one-on-ones with other people in the industry, people who are doing what you do, maybe somewhere else, right? Like, that's where you learn. That's really where the rubber meets the road. So any chance where you can actually do that, I think you should take that opportunity. I know a lot of people don't, but totally great conversations happening over the last day or two.
I'll tell you what, you definitely should be. I mean, I think IT Nation might be one of the last ones. There's Next Gen coming up. I'm leaving Saturday for Next Gen in Anaheim. And we got channel partner events going on in Vegas, another Vegas event, and then IT Nation. And other than some small ones, I think that's the last big one. So if you're going to be planning a spot or try to get out and collaborate, get out to IT Nation and mix and mingle. If you can't get into IT Nation, get to the party. There's going to be a big party there from MSP Initiative, and you're going to see a lot of those same people at that party.
100%, and gives you a chance to, like, again, find out who's really doing what, right? And what's actually working, what's happening, how people are handling all the security stuff that's coming down. Like, it's time to get out if you haven't already done so, safely, of course. Do what's best for you, but it's time. I think, if you haven't done it, book the flight, book the car, do whatever you got to do. All right. Let's go into a little bit more of what's happening out in the world. So we're hearing from a lot of people that, and I mentioned it before, you weren't on the session at the time, Ken. It was a couple, like 3 or 4 sessions back. Every day that goes by, the security thing gets worse and worse and worse. I just read an article yesterday that, this MSP got hit for 1.75 million. You got another guy who said that there was an enterprise company that paid 600 million out on the ransomware. There's this legislation that's being proposed in the Senate. It's not approved yet, where, if you're 50 employees or above, or a state, local government agency, you have 72 hours, 3 days to report, or you get hit with what could be 0.5% of revenue, right? Like top line revenue for your organization annually.
Right. So you're going to get a double whammy.
Yeah. So things are starting to tighten up, but I think the challenge here, and clearly the messaging so far that's coming out of this conference, is, hey, this isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse. Say, I talked a little bit about their issues, on main stage, apparently, but I mean, the government's not coming to save anyone, right? They basically just said, you're on your own and we're going to tax you if you don't report. So that goes to show you, right? Nobody's coming in on the cavalry to bail you out. So there's an opportunity there. Okay. And so there's a double-edged sword, right? If you don't put the things in place, you could get sued into oblivion, right? I heard last night at an event here on site, an end user clicked on a link and that link was malicious. And because that end user, made a bad decision, their company sued the MSP saying, you didn't do your part, when it was totally clear, like totally actually had the evidence that it was an individual part of the end user who actually made the click that ultimately caused the problem. And they sued them. And I was like, it just seemed like, I get it, you can sue for anything, but it's a little bit crazy, right? You could be on that side of the equation, which doesn't end well, right?
Yeah, and nobody wins, George. It doesn't matter if you're in the right. Once a lawsuit happens, you've lost, because you got to get a lawyer. You got to spend the time. So even if you win, you don't win. There's no winning in these cases. So yeah, it opens up a can of worms to be bad, no matter what the outcome is of the actual action.
I agree. And so on one side you have that, right, which is not a good story, and nobody wants to get in the middle of that. And you hear people who are maybe on the older end, right, the tail end of their careers, who thought that they were going to ride it for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years who are like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is not what I signed up for, but like the world is changing, right? So, at the end of the day, those people are trying to sell and merge and get rid of, whatever they're doing so they can not get the phone call saying, hey, I got the skull and the crossbones on my screen saying enter Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, it's happening. So there is an opportunity there and nothing's perfect, right? I mean, Brad Gross is here. I'm going to run into him a little bit later, our favorite legal extraordinaire. He'll tell you that if you're going to bundle all these security services offered to your customer, your agreement's still going to say, this is not 100%, and there's no guarantee. You could still get hit, right? It's kind of like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like the coronavirus vaccine. You can get the vaccine, but you can still get sick, right? And you can still have an issue. So, like there's no 100% inoculation when it comes to this conversation because there's so many angles, but you can't not do anything because all you're doing is leaving your front door open, no key, no lock, just literally walk through the door frame and you're in the building.
The other part that people think they can fall back on is the insurance. And if you're not reading these insurance policies properly, they're not going to cover you either. If you don't read the insurance and the insurance doesn't say specifically in there, these logs and these recordings and these reports are necessary, and you don't have any of that, they're going to the insurance policy is not going to cover you. So you have to make sure that everything that's in the insurance policy lines up with what you're telling your end user.
Well, so there's two things there. I'm going to unmute our friend Darren. If he's willing to come on, great. If he's busy, don't worry about it. But listen, I mean, there's two conversations on insurance. There's the MSP's insurance, okay? And then there's the end customer's insurance.
Right, you also have to look at the end customer, right?
So when you look at how deep these agreements go and these questionnaires go, Darren, it sounds like you're with us. I mean, I think you were saying that you were just in the middle of going through a renewal process and the document's like 40 plus pages.
No, it wasn't 40, but it was significant. The difference between last year and this year was dramatic in terms of the everything being asked and everything being required. So it's and who knows if next year they'll even still offer it. I mean, it does seem like things are moving in some way to having such a set of requirements that many will not potentially qualify, or it will be so prohibitive in cost. This year didn't turn out as bad as I thought it would, but again, that I don't think the writing is still on the wall for when they look at the statistics for 2021 and they're renegotiating everything for what they want to do next year. And I think it could be really bad. And sorry, I'm in an airport yet again, so I'll mute myself.
All good. So I was reading a questionnaire for cybersecurity coverage from travelers, which we know is one of the ones where, if you won't say that you have multi-factor in place, they'll literally drop you apparently. And they actually have a checklist with like, are you doing all of these things? And then at the bottom in red, it says, what you see above is the minimum required to get insurance. Like, so if you say no, you just won't get coverage.
Right.
Like, so, it's almost like a forced situation where they're just like, hey, this is an attestation, right? You're saying you have this stuff in place, but if you don't have it in place, you're just not going to do business with us. And like, just like that. And I was like,
is it a horrible thing though? Because this push is necessary. We need these things to start happening. I get that it's happening like, boom, this is it.
I think the concern from my side, Ken, and we've all done it, right? We've all at least seen it, right? The unmanaged switches and, these like appliances, like they're not even like, they're like, you have to have this turned on all these appliances. Like, it's not even capable. So like, you're asking me to tell you that it's on when it can't even do it, So like, are people just going to say, yeah, okay. And they just check the box. And then, somebody has an incident. Some guy comes in from incident response and says, I found the 4-port neck gear on the drop ceiling and this doesn't have it. So you're out, like, is that what it's going to be? Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's a bad debt.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Although, I mean, I think it would be hard pressed to find an insurance company that has someone smart enough to come and find something like that. But
listen,
I agree with what you're saying.
If it's going to mean if it's going to mean millions and millions of dollars, they're going to send somebody in there that can do that, right?
True.
So, so I just find it a little bit worrisome that they're getting so granular. And like, so basically the answer is you got to rip out anything that can't be, managed, and you got to and all those managed devices need to be multi-factored. Like some of that stuff, like think about a Dell switch you bought 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It may not even be multi-factorable.
George, I have a client that has probably a dozen, managed Dell switches, but they don't support 2FA, and I'm not certainly wanting to go rip those out, and I mean, it would be kind of not feasible to do. So yeah, but
that's my point, guys. Like, like how many people are going to literally go and rip and replace all of this stuff just to be able to check the box and say, yeah, we got it, it's on. Like, no offense, but you're going to spend more, it's almost like you got to spend the tax just to get the insurance policy anyway.
Right. But at the same time, there are opportunities there. Darren, in this case, are you saying that it just wouldn't be an opportunity to go to them and state, hey, listen, these devices are not secure and we do have to make a change based on just insurance policies alone, and then, rip and replace?
Sure, it's an opportunity there, but at the same time, to me, something like that is understanding the importance of 2FA, but on a switch that is within your own network. I don't know. I don't look at that as something that's, like, to me, overreaching what needs to be done versus all the other things that are a lot more important. So that's how I would look at it. But yeah, you see it as
well, unfortunately, on the insurance form, it's a checkbox, and underneath that set of checkboxes, it says the above is the minimum required. So, what do you do?
Yep.
I guess find another insurance vendor.
yeah. The general.
Has anybody ever tried calling the general?
No.
That's what I thought.
I just call Shaq direct.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip on to another thing. And me and Darren probably can say a lot about this. The online ordering apps for food, right? Me and Darren are very big Chick-fil-A proponents, I would say. But I saw our good buddy Bob Coppage, who was like, yeah, I put this I put it in an app with Chipotle, and I got to Chipotle, and literally, like, people are standing in line for 20 minutes just to even get to the point where they could say they're here, and it's just really backed up. And I was like, yeah, Bob, I learned through the pandemic, you just have to go in and order and walk out with your food, because you get in and out faster than waiting in the the concert venue in the parking lot. And he's like, well, this is what Chick-fil-A, or this is a Chipotle that at the time wasn't accepting in-person orders, right? You had to put the online order in and wait. And but back to my point, it all sounds fine. And they have special things that you can order on the app that you can't order in person. But I don't want to wait for an hour to pick up a food order. I want to get in and get out.
George, literally 45 minutes ago, I pulled up to a Popeyes with 19 cars on the drive-through line, and the dining, walked in and said, sorry, sir, you have to do drive-through or online order only. And so I said, okay. And I'm, of course, headed to an airport. So I had the car waiting outside. I did the online order. 10 minutes later, my tenders and mashed potatoes were ready. And it was like, come on, I mean, but they were delicious, but still.
But my point is,
yeah, but George, roll back a second here. They weren't taking in-person orders for what reason? Because they're having the same effect. People are still standing around in the lobby waiting for orders.
Or in the parking lot, whatever. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, here's my thing. If the online order is frustrating, I'm going to abandon the online order. I'm just going to walk in and say, you take my cash or not? You can take my credit card or not? Like, where's the food? So, I mean, I think that I think that the online thing is great and the app thing is great, but if you're going to have a bad experience, people will abandon that. And all of a sudden, all the stuff we said happened during COVID, with all these innovations in order for people to figure out how to get through it, they're gonna literally go down, and it's not gonna even matter.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I don't remember, last week or something, we ordered something and I ended up using an app because I had a credit on it. So for a place that I could easily drive down to and pick up, but I had the app, I had a credit. So I used it. Well, on the app, it said that my order wasn't ready for another hour. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to be true. So I drive to the place. Luckily, I drove there, because if I had listened to the app, my food would have been cold. It was ready when I got there. I drove there. It was already sitting, waiting. So yeah, I could see that being a huge problem if someone just shows up when the thing says it's ready, but it's not really ready. Or flip side, it's been sitting there for 30 minutes ready. People are going to start to get angry about that and not doing it. So you're right, it defeats the purpose.
And then the other thing, right, with the Uber Eats and DoorDash and all these guys out there, like, I love when you order from a place that's literally 5 or 10 minutes down the road, and it takes an hour and a half to get your food to you.
Yeah.
Like, I just walk if I literally had to, because I'll get there faster. So I don't know. I just, I appreciate the convenience of you not wanting to leave your place. I appreciate the convenience of you. Yeah.
The model, the reason that takes that long in almost every case is because those drivers are making a whole bunch of other stops. In fact, if you look in the Postmates app, for example, they let you now, which is now owned by Uber, you have the option to pick and say, make me the only delivery, where you pay an extra fee so that the driver is literally going to get your food and bring it to you.
Uber Eats has a similar thing, but it doesn't let you be the only one. Uber Eats just says, do you want to be a priority? And you pay an extra $1.50, and they don't really make you a priority. They just take an extra $1.50 from you.
No, that's the same thing. I've used that actually several times, and it's supposed to make you the first, the direct the delivery recipient. So
unless 5 other people hit the same button, then who's the priority?
But we're also, I think we're all still expecting, because things, we're expecting this for too little. I mean, just the convenience factor versus the cost of them providing it. I mean, yeah, it's nice for us, but if you think about it, and this is why these companies are, they have to have issues with what they're doing in general to make any money, because they can't deliver this at scale and have everybody pay a really relatively small fee to go, get personalized delivery. So it's like our expectations, I think, in that regard are a little bit skewed based on, the low pricing that they've set over time, which now they're realizing, well, that's not going to work. So,
well, especially when a guy like Darren calls up and gets the whole thing refunded, you know what I'm saying? IHOP.
Well, listen, did you not agree that was valid?
I agree. I agree 100%, but could you imagine what eating a couple of those, like having the whole entire cost refunded cost them?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's probably pretty big, and but it's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I just think it's all fun and games on the convenience factor, right? But I don't know. I just really think that if they don't get it together, it's just really going to be in a situation where people are just going to abandon the whole thing, right? At a time when, small business is really needing people to really jump in there, this is the thing that breaks it. That's what I think. But hey, anyway, moving right along. So I will really, I was talking to a guy last night who was saying that people are still trying to figure out, I don't know why, like 10 years later, it's still the topic of conversation, what they need to do to make sales work, right? I had one guy last night that said, hey, I'm doing like 8 to 10 appointments a month, right? I got another guy out there saying, yeah, I just literally can't find any new business. So I was talking a little bit with some of the marketing companies that are here, and basically they're like, listen, if you don't have an actual sales resource, you're going to waste your money on the outside marketing program. And I said, how many of these guys actually have, who's not the owner, right? Who's not like the multi-purpose guy, an actual dedicated sales resource? I think there's a lot of people that don't.
Or they have the wrong dedicated sales resource.
So I really,
that
But I'm just saying,
my thing, sorry, George.
No,
No, but my
yeah.
thing was, I struggled with this too. I didn't want it to be me. It shouldn't have been me. But when we would bring people in, we found people that did a better job selling us on why they should be our salesperson than they did actually selling the services. And honestly, now I believe that it's not even a sale anymore, you know, for what we need to be doing. So maybe you need to find the right people that understand this isn't a sale. This is something that's very prescriptive. It's something that they need, right? I think it's the approach that has to change to make that easier for whoever you bring on to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people have to actually come back to themselves and say, if I'm going to drop 4, 5, 8, 10, 11 grand a month, does it make sense to do that if I really don't have anyone to follow up with the opportunity, right? Like,
Right.
time is very sensitive. Oh, looks like they're giving stuff away. Instant winners. By the way, this is actually pretty cool, guys. Look, there's what they call this crash room over here,
I can
where
hear
you literally are. Yeah, you literally are, you know, like throwing, you know, stuff to like break stuff. Let's take a little walk over here. It's actually a pretty cool idea. Yeah, you're literally like taking stuff out of the box, and, like, smash it and break it. There you go. It's like
Nice.
it's like one of those it's like one of those rooms where you go in and you get the sledgehammer and you start breaking stuff. It's pretty cool.
I bet you George could use a room like that.
I absolutely could use a room like that. There's absolutely no question.
Should I take a guess at what? Could I take a guess at what you're breaking? No, never mind.
Don't start, Ken. How about that HP laptop you have? We should replace it with a Lenovo, and then we should throw that one out the window.
There you go. Talk to them. Talk to them. Get yourself a Lenovo.
Yeah. Hey guys, if one of these laptops disappeared, is that all right? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's sorry.
Sorry, man.
So
It's not the
Moving-
vid, folks. It's not the vid. It's
not.
allergy season. Allergy season.
it's true. It's true. Let me ask this question. Is the password manager still valid? Does it still have a place?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why is it everyone's trying to push into single sign-on and all this other stuff? Obviously, like the switches and the routers we just talked about, not everything's single sign-on-able, right?
Right.
So where does the password manager fit? Is it an absolute must-have? Should your end customers be, should you be including that as part of their offering, or
Absolutely.
because I know a lot of people
Absolutely.
have tried. And they literally cannot get adoption.
There's got to be a way to get adoption, because between the password manager, MFA, and education, those three things could have stopped 98% of the things that have happened up to this point, if you have those three in place. And if you have all the really cool stuff at your office locked down, all the things you need to be done, but someone who works from home uses the same password that they use at the office, what good does it do? Right? A little credential stuffing, boom. I got your wife, who's the CFO at your company, I got her access to Macy's or Capital One or whatever. And guess what? She's using the same password, and I start putting it into my bots to credential stuff, and I hit a password on the network, boom, I'm in. So, I mean, yeah, you need to have it. And I think that it's a really essential tool for not only to get for internally, right, in-house, but put it in play at your customers to make sure that they understand that not only should they be using it, but all their users should be using it. And there's free stuff out there too that they can get involved with and use for the home user to at least keep those passwords safe, change them up. You're not trying to, you're not plugging in password 1 anymore. Those days are over.
Yeah. Password 1. How many times have you typed that password in, Ken?
More than I'd like to admit, that's for sure.
Let me ask this question then. When the end user doesn't want to do the auto password setup, right? Like where they go to their password app and create that long, 30 character, whatever, and they're just putting in Happy Frog as their password. Does the password manager work at that point?
No, it does not. All the password manager at that time is remembering your passwords, allowing you to log in. That's it. You have to have the password. That's the whole point of it. Generate something hard that it remembers, and then you get to plug that in every time you log into the pass manager. You don't have to keep typing it. It still helps them out. It protects them, gives them a long password. It still makes perfect sense to do. You need to protect everything you possibly can. It's all about those layers, right? Leaving one hole open is like leaving them all
open. There was another question that came out the other day that is 4G and 5G, have the same problems as public Wi-Fi. I mean, your device is online, right? It's a public device. Like, how do you know that the firewall on this is actually going to help you?
Yeah, I can't answer that question. I don't even know what you can do over 5G and 4G, what's possible on that layer. So that would be, listen, years ago, you wouldn't have thought there were ways to get in on other communications. And you find out that even a fax machine can be hacked, and, even just over copper lines, you can find ways to get into people's phone systems and the old shit still. So I wouldn't put it past anybody that there's not going to all of a sudden be a requirement for security on your 4G and 5G.
Yeah, you guys saw the article like 2 weeks ago that the main vendor that all of the cell phone carriers have been using for SMS had a breach going back 5 years. I mean, think about all the over-the-top SMS codes you've been getting from your bank.
Just a little bit of data there.
Just a little bit, right?
A little bit.
So if that's the case, they already have had the traffic in between this and the tower anyway.
Right. 5 years worth of 5 years of late night calls and late night messages and whatever. That's
scary, man.
It's an interesting thing, but that just goes to show you, right? I think almost anything is hackable.
So how do we know that blockchain solves any of this, right? All these people putting all this money into cryptocurrency, and I guess blockchain is supposed to be unhackable. I mean, is it just unhackable based on today's standards, or is it actually secure?
Secure is a very flexible word, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Secure now and secure in 5 minutes even are two different things. And I see where you're leading with this, and I can agree and help push that. I don't think anything is going to be fully securable forever.
So
which is why we have to keep on.
The argument here is, if all of it's not really secure anyway, why bother?
Well, no, it's not that it's not secure anyway. It's just that we're trying to keep it secure on the daily, right? We have to consistently stay in front of these things. So yes, it's secure now, but for how long? So we have to think about that. There has to be a constant thought process around. We can't, I guess what I'm saying is we can't rest on our laurels. Anything that we have today that says it's secure and works now, it doesn't mean we sit back and say, we got it in place, it's all done, we're done. Security is a constantly evolving. You're going to constantly be thinking, you're going to be constantly thinking about where the next hack's going to come from. And I'm sure these security companies will tell you the same thing, that their lives are very busy.
Yes, I'm sure they are. Is it realistic to think that every MSP is going to be able to have their own CISO? I don't think so.
Yeah. No, but maybe there's a CISO for hire, or maybe that's stuff.
CISO as a service.
There you go, CISO as a service. I mean, we've seen it happen at almost every, right. We've seen it with well, when we look, we have MSP CFO, right? From a financial standpoint, right? These are all the items that from an MSP, a smaller, an SMB MSP is just not going to be able to have these types of C-level folks. So yeah, I would say if there was an MSP CISO, I don't see why it wouldn't work. And as long as it was, priced right and fit the model.
I can't wait for Beards as a service.
That's already happened. We see Matt Lee with his bearded crew.
Darren had maybe the best line of the day. Managing security is like eating Chick-fil-A. Are you ever really satisfied or finished? Of course not. We may have to give Chick-fil-A a head nod on that one, but that could be the quote of the day.
You guys are sick individuals. You need help.
We like chicken. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I like myself a good chicken, but you guys definitely take it to the extreme.
Wow. There's no question that there's a lot of chicken being ate in between two people on this call. Apple comes out and says that device shortages are going to threaten record-setting holiday blitz. So they just came out with all their new devices. They announced them, and now they're saying they may not even be available for the holiday season. I guess we kind of knew this was coming, right? I mean, all the chip shortages. I thought Apple was manufacturing their own chips.
Yeah, but it's where they're being manufactured that changes that thought process.
Should they be flying them in instead of boating them in?
Should they be making them in the United States? Oh, maybe that would help.
There you go. Manufacturing in the United States. Is that a thing?
That's a concept, a weird concept, I know. But guess what?
Wow.
That would take care of all these shipping problems, right?
Yeah, as our friend who works with the LA ports, says yes.
So there you go. There you go. I just solved the problem right there. But you know what? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just throw out there, hey, listen, we're not going to hit our goals. We were going to have a record month, but something's going to stop it.
Yeah. Okay. So Verizon announces, flipping topics, that it's finally going to do a wireless home internet service on the new there's this 5G technology that they're rolling out. They said they spent 3 years developing. It's not even 5G. Beam high speed internet into your house. Beam, like from a satellite dish. Beam.
Sure.
Now they're really still talking about 5G, but I was trying to be funny with it. So do you foresee, like, because Ken, you've been somebody who's had some home internet issues with your Comcast, right?
Oh yeah.
Would you cut the cord on Comcast and go just Verizon Wireless at your house?
Not right out of the gate. I definitely wouldn't want to be one of those guinea pigs. I've fallen for some stuff like that in the past that didn't work out great. Yeah, I don't know. They could say it does all this stuff, but until I see it, touch it, feel it for longer than a month, I don't believe it. A lot of this stuff just like 5G. We talked about 5G for how long now? I haven't seen a single phone really have 5G and really get what they're saying. You and I have joked about this before, where my phone will literally say 5G on it and I can barely get into a move on the phone or do anything on the phone. It's like, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, totally get it. How about the founder of ByteDance, which we all know is the company behind, the app on your phone, right, for the videos? He's now the richest person in the Chinese internet sector. Guess social media does work.
Yeah, and that'll be without LinkedIn, because LinkedIn pulled out of China. So
LinkedIn pulled out of China, and then we heard that former president of the United States is rolling out his own social media platform now. They've announced it that they're going public. Truth Social, the non-cancelable internet. Oh yeah. And have you heard all this news on the internet about Facebook is going to change their name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like they're talking about their name now being Metaverse. I'm like, did
Oh.
the CW and DC own that? Like, I don't know. I think that might be copywritten.
A lot of people are definitely freaking out about that. It definitely, yeah, Metaverse might. It should be called Behind Your Back Book.
Yeah. So it would be interesting. It's like apparently the name's changing next week.
Really?
Yeah.
Next week? I didn't see that.
Yeah. So here you go. I'm pulling up the you probably didn't know about it. He's like, but Facebook's apparently thinking about changing their name starting next week.
Well, thinking about it starting next week are two totally different things.
They said that it almost seems like they're playing to what Google did with Alphabet, right?
Yeah.
The parent organization may have a different name, but they'll keep the individual product or business unit name. So he said, this is Mark Zuck. Our next chapter is to transform from being a social media company to a metaverse company. He actually used the word metaverse in this quote.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that name's been used, man. Go back and watch a couple Flash episodes.
He just left
Same.
reality. That's all. Zuckerberg has officially left reality. Oh, wait. Just because I said that, my Facebook account just got locked.
I'm sure it did.
If you're listening, Mark, I was just joking. Sorry.
Yeah. How about this? A Forbes article from yesterday or earlier this morning saying that Cisco systems, here's the title, here's why Cisco technology stock is not your best internet infrastructure bet. I was like, really? And they're saying Akamai, the guys, actually, I think the existing CEO from Datto came from these guys, right? Akamai Technologies.
I think you're right. Yeah.
They're saying this is the better play. I mean, that's interesting.
Could be. I mean, it's interesting to say the least.
I'm curious to see. This is an interesting one from today, from a week ago. Elon Musk says Starlink will provide faster internet speeds on airplanes.
Well, it can't get any slower.
I mean, I would pay for faster internet on the plane.
I would too. I've actually paid for it a number of times and not gotten it.
Yeah, where like it spins. It somehow had enough juice to charge you, but then the internet didn't work, right?
Right.
Amazing how that happens.
100% true.
Well, I mean, the internet on the airplanes, like that's been a thing for a long time. Actually, I thought everybody globally had that. Like some countries hadn't had that until like the last couple of years. So especially on the international.
Like I said, some of the airlines claim they have it, but they really don't because it just doesn't work.
Sometimes it works, but never when you're flying out of Denver. It never works flying out of Denver. Have you noticed that? I notice that all the time.
The best ones are your 6-hour flights when it doesn't work and you're smashing your laptop and because it's
but at least you get the free movies.
No, I actually found that not every airline still has movies. I got on a plane. What was it? This year's been a jumble, but I got on a plane that had no screens, no anything. And I was shocked. I'm like, I can't remember the last time I was on a plane with nothing. They had nothing. No screens here and no screens up in the air.
What airline was that?
Southwest, I think.
No, they got the Wi-Fi.
What?
The Wi-Fi. Oh, that's right. The one that we're talking about right now. Here's a funny one. So apparently all the rage right now on Netflix is something called Squid Game.
Oh yeah, people are freaking out about it. Yeah.
And that this new series is so popular, a South Korean internet provider sued over the surge in traffic. Think about that.
That is pretty funny.
We're not just gonna deprioritize you. We're gonna actually sue you to make sure that we got our money back from your popular
Look,
streaming
you got
service.
shot A chiming in. Such a good show. Yes.
Why don't
See?
you come in and tell us what the show's about, huh? What's all the rage?
I've heard people say it's amazing, and then I've heard other people say they couldn't watch it. So Sade is going to give us the lowdown.
Okay, give us a review.
Okay, this is that serious where I'm like hopping on camera. But it is ultimately this show where they have all these people that owe just like ridiculous amounts of money. There is absolutely no way in this lifetime that they're going to pay that amount back. And ultimately it's kind of like a Hunger Games sort of thing where they have all these people in a room and they have to go through a series of insane games that they play with kids with a very deadly twist. There's a lot of death involved, and ultimately it comes down to whoever the last person is standing is the one that gets all this money. And that's just such a vague way of explaining it. There's so much more that goes into it, but that is like the premise of the show. And for those who are interested in seeing it, I'm not giving away any spoilers. So.
Okay, sounds like Sade wants to be on the show. That's what it sounds like.
I don't think so.
I'll pass. I value my life.
I see.
Yeah.
It's all fun and
George, why
games
would you
until you
even,
have to.
George, why would you even joke about that? You value her life. You can't be without
course.
Sade.
Of course. It's like
Don't
a
even
legitimate
joke.
radio
Sade,
show.
go back to
We
your
have-
bubble. Go protect her. Get her in her bubble. Are you crazy? If Sade was gone, this whole thing would be done.
Yeah, 100%. No question. Yeah. It sounds like it's great to watch, but it's like one of the Saw movies, right? Or what was it, Purge? Pick one of the 30 purges out there. It's like, are you going to be alive at the end of the movie? I don't know.
Look, even Aaron mentions it's quite satisfying to watch. It is. I totally agree with that. 10 out
So
of 10.
Darren and Sade like watching people die.
And that's what I got from it. That's what I got from it. I mean, okay.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. Okay, everybody's going to go watch this. Next week, we're going to have a little chat about this show that apparently crashed the South Korean internet provider. Okay.
What you didn't mention was the South Korean provider was only using 56K modems.
Yeah, I doubt that. I doubt that. I'm pretty sure they shut, like, the fact that we still have 56K modems is like the same reason why we still have fax machines. Why?
Right.
Why is that
Well,
still
listen,
a thing? Can anyone explain it to
If
me?
you got a block of them,
I can just see it right now. Ken Patterson in his garage with all these 56K modems, just plugging in all these wires. And he's like, oh, I'm an internet provider.
and I gotta flip the switch on each one of them.
Until somebody picks up the phone and tries to make a phone call, and then they crash the whole thing.
That's their fault. They shouldn't try to make a call.
Yeah. Remember back in the day when like there was a second line in your house?
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have the main line busy, so you got a second line installed. Craziness.
Good
guys.
times. Good times.
Well, I still tell my story with that long kitchen, the phone on the kitchen wall with the really long cord. Everybody remembers that, right? Yeah. Well, my story, one of my stories, right? Where I walk in and my dad was so pissed off on this call, he slammed the phone down and broke off the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That phone. Yeah.
Just to make sure everybody knows he was angry because of something George did. That's just
No, that's not true.
It is true. Ultimately, it was what you did. I'm not saying right, wrong. It was the teacher he was mad at, but you caused the whole problem.
I argue that in order for there to be a problem, two people have to be involved.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Usually there's like, I can't just be on my own, right? Like there's got to be another party involved in order to make that happen.
Okay.
Okay. Hey,
Okay.
I still found a way to get internet while I was at lunch in the lunchroom. You know, I may have got in trouble for it, but you know, it did the job.
It's all right. You did it.
All right. Still not as good as I once again somehow, you know, our friend Rafi, right, from New Jersey.
Yep.
He somehow got me to give the getting pulled over, standing in line at the post office story again.
See, we get stuck at these events telling stories that we've told way too many times.
100%, man. It's just so unbelievable, but it happened.
Hey, you got the mail story and I got the guy on my balcony. You know, I mean.
Yeah. Wow. That, needless to say, anytime you go back to the, what is it, JW Marriott Dallas?
No, it's actually appropriately named Gaylord Texan.
Oh, okay. Well, anytime you go back to that property, you could have like the biggest room they got.
This is true. Apparently in March, they're going back there. So we're going to get to see that. We're going to test that theory.
They're going to walk in and be like, oh, I remember you.
That's what the girl did last time. She looked down at the name. She looked up at me and she was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a little note in the system.
I did get an upgrade in a story about how the security guy still says he's never seen anything like that. So good stuff.
Well, there's also the elevator.
Right, twice. That's the two things. Right. First that, then I get the upgrade, then that, and then yeah. It's gonna be called the KP Texan.
Hey, I would go stay at that place.
Just once until we wrecked it, but yeah.
So last one of the ticklers on my news list here is, so Electric, the same Electric that acquired our friends from Techvera not too long ago, and the same Electric that I think earlier this year announced a funding round, has announced another funding round.
Yep.
A $90 million round D.
Yep.
What's going on over there?
Some good investments going to happen, I guess. We'll see what happens. You know, I mean, they're picking up we know at least of one MSP they picked up that's really good in Techvera. And if they're going to gain that type of leverage and add it into their have the platform that they have and now have the solutions on top of that with the providers to help, could be a very big play.
Well, I'm curious to see where all that money goes. Is it into additionally coding out their orchestration platform? Is it more acquisitions? Is it everything? Is it hiring more people? Like, we always ask this, I guess, the litmus test, right? Whenever you get on the phone or you get in front, how many endpoints do you manage? Like, does it take the endpoint to a human being ratio to some outrageous number that we've never thought about before? Can you do 2,500 endpoints to one person?
We're going to find out, I think. And it's belly buttons now. It's not endpoints anymore. We call them belly buttons.
Belly button. Okay.
That's
I thought is it more power buttons, not belly buttons?
Yeah. No, belly buttons. How many belly buttons do you manage? Not making fun of you guys, but I almost think, like, remember that show, the IT Crowd, that UK show that we always laugh about? And they got the guy in the IT department, they got the two guys in the IT department, and like a manager that has no idea about IT. I'm sure everybody knows it. If not, go Google IT Crowd. I think it's actually on Netflix now, believe it or not. He literally had an old school like tape, and he pre-recorded hello reel
IT,
to reel,
and it would stop, and then it would, like, somebody would say their problem, and then it would continue to be like, have you tried turning it off and on again? It would stop. Oh yeah, it's working now. And then it'll be like, thanks, have a nice day. And then it'll click end the call.
The old reel to reel.
I mean, they're not wrong, but could you imagine taking $90 million and putting that in?
Yeah. No, I couldn't.
Just saying, could be a thing. Hello, KPs.
We call that retro.
Okay.
So then it becomes a hit.
Where it appreciates in value after a certain point?
You got to come up with the right name for it. Then it's worth money, right? Oh, it's retro. That's not outdated. It's retro.
Okay. Retro.
There you go.
It's kind of like your car. It's so old You don't have to get it registered every year, right?
Yeah.
The classic car.
I don't think that happens here in Massachusetts. You got to register everything here.
Oh yeah, no, you still have to register it, but like you only have to register it like every 3 or 5 years because it's a classic car. You don't have to register it you have to re-inspect it and all that every year.
I don't know. Maybe things have changed. I haven't had a classic car in a long time.
Well, hopefully you have a car that's not leaking anymore.
Yeah. No
What
leaks.
was that, by the way?
It was water. It was just apparently the vehicle that my daughter has a larger AC unit in it, and it does more condensation than a normal vehicle. So it was just, I mean, like I told you this, I'm like, I only see water, and there's no place where water leaks out of a car. It's going to be oil, it's going to be fluid, something a little more, not just water. And that's exactly what he said. He's like, it's condensation. It's just, this has a heavy duty AC unit, which is nice. No, whatever. My daughter apparently has a very nice AC in her car.
Could you imagine a car rolling down the road with like a window AC unit inside of it? Is that retro?
That's retro.
Is that retro? Okay.
I guess you could also go to like, Target and get one of those AC units that supposed to cool a small desk area and put that in your car too.
Yeah. I just, for some reason, the Sanford and Son theme song's playing in the back of my head.
Oh, great.
And for anyone,
I'm never going to get that. It's not going to come out of my head now. Great. Thanks.
For anyone that doesn't know, they may be not old enough to know Sanford and Son. I'm not saying either of us are old on this call, but you should go and look up Sanford and Son, go YouTube it, and pull up the theme song. It's pretty catchy.
Oh, yeah. There's no words. Here you go, George. I'm going to play it for you.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you hear it?
There it is. Yeah. Oh, we just lost it.
Lost it?
There it is. It's back. I think Zoom's trying to filter it out. It's like, this is
watch
retro.
this. What's this? Here we go. Oh, you disabled screen sharing. If I could screen share it.
No, I got it. Now. It's playing good now.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's like these two guys, right? A father and a son that run a junkyard. That's what I'm thinking about when we're talking about putting window air conditioner units in the side of the car.
Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey.
That was good television, man. I don't care. It might be a little bit dated, but that was good TV.
Hey, he called his son Big Dummy. You can't do that now.
Yeah, that's not allowed. That's not PC.
He also told Aunt Esther that he could stuff her face in dough and make gorilla cookies.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
That's some great TV.
That was good times, man.
By the way, Red Fox was, if not one of the most dirtiest comedians ever. He made Richard Pryor look like a choir boy.
Really?
Look that up. Red Fox was one of the dirtiest comedians, and he was who Richard Pryor looked up to. And of course, Richard Pryor was who Eddie Murphy looked up to. You can kind of get that line, but it all started with Red Fox. Yes. He was one of the dirtiest guys.
Think about when you're naming your kid that you somehow came to Red Fox. Right? Like,
it could have been changed somewhere along the way. He is in Hollywood.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Red Fox. That's a great name. I love it. I don't think my wife would let me do that, but yeah.
He was the best. He was really, really good. Took that dirty personality and turned it into TV somehow.
So last thing I have for you on the way out of the show. So I got my Uber from the airport. This is the guy right here I had to tell the story to yesterday. This is the guy Rafi's like, you got to hear this story. Yeah. Apparently he gets stopped too, but not to the level I get stopped. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm in my Uber. I'm waiting for my Uber. This is back to the thing that Darren was saying earlier, right? They got all these stops. They're working for two services simultaneously. So anyway, we're in the car. And the guy's like, oh yeah, this is a really busy weekend. I'm like, why? It can't be Vegas is busy because this little IT conference I'm going to. He's like, no. He's like, there's this festival this weekend. I was like, what about the Eagles, Raiders in Las Vegas and the 20,000 Eagles fans flying in? And he's like, I got out of the car. At the MGM Grand, and the guy, went to go get my bags. I was like, all right, man, well, good luck. And then he points to his license plate. It's a customized Raiders license plate. And I tipped this guy. I tipped him before I saw the license plate. I should put it in a dispute.
Yeah, and he probably also gave you a 3-star.
I'm sure I got a 0. Eagles fan, 0. I could do the same, but I didn't. Just saying. All right, well, for the record, I will not be going to the Eagles Raiders game. I've been told I'm not allowed to go because if I don't go back home, my wife said she will cut an appendage off. So Friday evening, I'll be back in Philadelphia. I'll be watching with the rest of Eagles Nation on the TV. But yeah, Eagles Raiders in Vegas at the new Allegiant Stadium, which, by the way, not a great airline. I tried to get Alex Sanders to take Allegiant. He wasn't having it.
Yeah, but you got to ask somebody that may be a little, on the bougie level, a little bit lower that would try that.
Yeah, he immediately took Allegiant. He referenced the 60 Minutes episode where they said Allegiant's planes like literally break down in the air. Just saying.
I
All right, guys.
there. I don't want to get on some crazy little, renting a car that's a little crappy is okay, but getting in a plane that's crappy, no, not for me.
So is the stadium crappy then?
Oh, I doubt I think they put enough money into that stadium to make it pretty nice. I think the stadium's fine. Plus the stadium's not flying anywhere. But I will tell you, did you know that the whole entire field rolls out into the sun and then rolls back into the...
So they have a field, they have a stadium, they have a team, but they don't have a head coach. How about them apples?
Listen, what the guy said was not great, but I have a feeling if you checked every single person's emails, like everybody's emails, there'd be a lot of people getting fired today. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a lesson, everybody. Purge your email.
Or just don't type stuff. Don't put stuff in writing. There you go.
Purge the emails that you don't need. All right, everybody. Catch you on Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time. Follow me on social. I'll be posting some videos and some clips from the CASEA conference here. And you never know what's going to happen. All right, guys. Catch you on the flip.
Have a good one.